All right, I want to show you where we left off when we're talking location. So we're going to go back. This is right after we talked about um, mapping locations, and we talked about the equator, and we talked about all these sort of things. We talked about exact location, but now we're going to talk about another idea, which is relative location. And relative location, simply put, is the position of something relative to other things, meaning while talking about other stuff. So, frankly, this is probably more useful unless you have a GPS um, brain, because a GPS can only tell you your direct coordinates. You know, when your phone is loading, but your GPS blue dot still works, that's your exact location. Your relative location is when they turn on that map and you can see where you are relative to everything else. So, you know, when your GPS says turn right at McDonald's, that's relative location. How far away do you live from Antelope? That's your relative location. Is Brazil south of the equator? That's its relative location. It makes things a lot easier and a lot more general. You know, in geography, we like generalities. It makes things more general and useful to us. And it really opens up how discussions work. So here's like a dinky example, like, oh, I live south of the McDonald's. But in this case, Rio de Janeiro is on the east side of Brazil, and relative to Venezuela, it is, I don't know, more coastal, I guess. But it helps you understand things a little bit better. Um, you couldn't understand Hong Kong until you understood its relative location to China and its waterways. Remember, this was the example we used in class. And then relative to the UK, we wouldn't understand why Hong Kong is where it is. So Hong Kong is relative. It's as close as you can get to London, you know, if you include going around Africa, and not knowing about the American side and stuff. But its relative location to Europe made it really important, and its relative location to these rivers makes it incredibly valuable to the British. Buffalo, New York is a great example. Buffalo, New York is such a small place, you only know it based on its relative distances. It is west on the west side of New York. It's south of Lake Ontario. It's east of Lake Erie. You've never heard of Buffalo before. So we use all these things to tell us its relative importance and location, right? In this case, it is important because it connects all these different towns through boatway. Now, boatways aren't important anymore, but at the time, its relative location to all this stuff made it an incredibly valuable and important place. Now you're thinking Buffalo, New York. Great, never heard of it. Sacramento, California. Relative location is in the Valley of California, and we can see here that its relative location on the American River is really important, and its relative location north and south of Sacramento is important. Why is the capital of California Sacramento? Why isn't San Francisco? Why isn't it San Diego, Los Angeles? Um, and the answer to that's pretty simple. Is we had a gold rush, and it was in Sacramento, so everyone came here. Um, and now it's the relatively middle area of California, so we made it the capital. Um, but basically, when people came to visit, they went to San Francisco and then down the river to us to get to the gold, right? So our relative location is more important than our exact location in this case. The third one is general location. This one's really simple, by the way. It's just being vague about where something is, right? San Martin is in the Pacific Ocean. I don't know, it's over here. Uh, it's in the Montreal is in North America. New York is in the United States. Miami is southern United States. It helps us understand the location and interconnectedness of big ideas. What I'd like now, we won't do it because I was going to send this home for homework anyway. Cool, cool. We can understand language better when we look at this. Religion, you can look here in my notes. Um, Without understanding something's general location or what it's around and connected to and like its vagaries, we can't really talk about a place except for knowing specific minute examples. So general location is pretty easy, and we use it probably the most. But the second theme, so after location, those are all the ways we locate things. The second theme is one you're going to be a little more comfortable with. And the second theme is place. The difference between a location and a location is an area, a place is an area that you can feel is different than other areas. So when I say like I'm at the Eiffel Tower. There's two Eiffel Towers. There's one in Las Vegas as well, but that doesn't have the sense of place that the one in Italy has. It's the feelings that uniquely define an area. That can be all the people, all the way they act, the temperature, the architecture, the things that the local characteristics that make it unique. Right? That's a location's place. So location is literally a location of something, and place is the local characteristics that makes a place different, a location different. We split place into two different categories. The first is physical characteristics that can make a place feel different. Rivers make a place feel different. Climate makes a place feel different. Um, the soil makes a place feel and smell and be unique to somewhere else. But this can also include man-made changes. For example, some of our rivers in Sacramento are man-made, and it gives us a unique feel. The canals in France are man-made, and it gives them a unique feel, right? But we have a canal, they have a canal. Are we the same place? No. We are similar locations in that way, but we have totally different feelings and spirits, maybe is a way to say that. So we call that place, and that's a physical place. The easier one, I think, is human characteristics. This is what we call culture, but cultural traits can give us a sense of place, how the people act, what they eat, what they, how they talk. When you go to New York, you bump into someone and say, "Hey, get out of my way, you punk, get out of," whatever. But if you're in France, they might smoke their cigarette and say, "Oh, I apologize for," but the way people act is different depending on where they are, and that makes it feel different, right? That includes man-made structures as well, just like the physical location did, but it also includes transportation, government, people's ethnicity, languages, how people act. In France, everyone sits at the cafe for hours, hours in a day. In America, everyone's busy, 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 trying to get to work, right? We love baguettes and bread and cheese and all that sort of stuff when you visit France. Um, and so these are what we call human characteristics, and it tells us a lot about a place. Um, where actually it creates a place. It doesn't tell us a lot about a place. It creates a place. The things places are named is really important. Toponyms are what we call those, and that can tell us also a lot about a place. So the culture has an effect on a place. And do toponyms matter? Which, by the way, is the name of locations. Yes, absolutely. They have a direct connection to a sense of place. When you're in California, think of the names of all the cities: San Francisco, Santa Cruz, San Luis Obispo, right? We have a sense of place, and it is very Mexican and Spanish, right? Spanish influenced and Mexican culture, right? Spanish language influence. Um, we have a different sense of place than a place like an area like Vermont, which has a French influence. So when we have, I mean, I grew up as a white kid. I don't know if you noticed I'm white, but like we would have piñatas and we would still make quesadillas. There's a whole video on YouTube of people trying to make quesadillas who don't know what a quesadilla is. And those people are from Vermont, where they have French influences, right? Where they dip their French fries in mayonnaise, because that's what the French do. And you can see that in the names, right? So like Montpelier, Rutland, that's not a good one. South Burlington, these are all French and British influences, and we can see that in a sense of place. It's going to have a different feel than California does. So anyway, back to human characteristics. What I'd like you to do is in your notes right here, you're taking notes frivolously, you're like, Demant, you're talking too much. I want you to make a T-chart, and I would like you to say my house, and I'd like you on the left side, it's a case study, right? So you help you remember, what are 5 physical characteristics of your house that make it a place and not a location, that make it unique and different? And what are 5 cultural traits of your home that make it unique and different? I'm going to pause you here because I want you to work actually for 4 full minutes. If you do this way too fast, think deeper and add more. So I'm going to pause. I want you to pause and set a timer for 5 full minutes and take care of this. So pause me. Why haven't you paused me? Pull out your paper and do it. Hey, do it. Do it right now. I'm serious. Okay. Are you back? Excellent. Now we got place, we have a feeling. Some places just feel different, and that means, though, that some places feel like nothing. And we call this in human geography placelessness. I'll give you $500 if you can tell me where this picture on the left was taken. I don't have $500. If you guess right, that's all right. But it could be anywhere, right? It doesn't say Colorado restaurant, by the way. It says El Dorado. Oh, that's actually a hint. It's somewhere on the West Coast. But it could be anywhere. And placelessness is the absence of feeling of a place. It's where you go in the suburbs and you're like, this is nothing. There's no culture here. There's no coolness. It's why people love San Francisco but hate Fresno. Because in Fresno, where I'm from, it feels like anywhere else in the world. In San Francisco, it feels special and unique. And so placelessness is this growing sense that we have that everywhere is kind of the same and it's not special. So we call that placelessness in human geography. And it's really important. It's just as important as the sense of place. And finally, here's a new vocab word. Are you ready? I learned this last year when it was on the AP test, and when my students asked me what it was, and I said, I don't know. So here it is. Sequent occupants. What happens when a place is taken over by another place and then taken over by another place, and then it was Greek, and then it was Roman, and then it was Italian, and now it's America, right? What does that place feel like? We call that sequent occupants. Sequence meaning a number or a series of things, right? Occupants meaning occupying, like I live there. And it basically describes the layers and combination of culture over time. So because multiple different people and cultures occupy an area, it has a unique sense of place different than all those other places. And so sequence occupants is when people occupy an area in sequence and they imbue into that area a different sense of place. Interesting, I think. And then finally, a distinction you need to make is between site and situation. Now, when we talk about a place or a location, we talk site. We're talking about the physical location of a place. It's the location of a place plus the feeling of a place, the site. The site of a murder is where a murder happened. The site of a region is both the area, so like San Francisco is in San Francisco, and the place, the feeling of an area. So like a site is just zooming in. It's a large scale looking at a city. Situation, however, includes the relative and connected importance to the things around it. These are both physical and cultural. So does Hong Kong, we can talk about the site of Hong Kong, and they're going through, and on small scale, they're going through rebellion, and they're fighting for their civil rights. In a large scale, when we look at their situation, we can then see how connected they are to China. We zoom out and we see like, oh crap, they're interacting with a different site. And those two sites' situation are how they are connected to one another. So the site of a place is its location and what it's like. The situation of a place is how it's connected to other places and how it's important to other places. Cool enough? I'm going to give you a hint. When I come back, I'm going to give you a quiz. Here's the quiz. Ready? I'm being nice. Which one of these is small scale and which one of these is large scale? And why should you have chosen the answer? You can pause and look at it if you want. Second is this one. What's the likely scale for this map? This question is not as hard as you think it is. Don't get wrapped up in the actual numbers. Think big and small. Now worse, what about this one? These are hard questions. These are pulled directly from the last AP exam. Okay, that should be enough. I should be back. If I'm not back, there is a lecture up on human environment interaction. It looks like this. Hopefully I am back because I really want to go through this with you so we can talk about Dubai. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, peace out. I miss you. I'm in it right now. Being bored. Oh, 14 minutes. Ooh.